Guys, so we are learning about bar graphs today, and this is another type of graph that we can use to show our data. So, what is a bar graph? A graph it uses a bar to show data, like I just said. So it looks like this. So we've been using tally charts and picture graphs, which use tally marks and pictures, but we're going to use what's a bar graph that looks like long bars to represent each category. And so what's nice is with this is it's very simple in its basically just a long rectangle. And so we're going to see here in our chart that the squares are going to be filled in by how many votes there are for each category. And so, similar to our tally and picture graphs, they have very similar parts to the bar graph. We have our title, which in this case is favorite fruit. We have the bars that represent how many votes each fruit got. We have our categories and our labels here on the side, and then the quantity, which means how many votes each category got. So, for example, blueberries has 6 squares colored in, which means it had 6 votes. Okay. So, picture graphs and bar graphs are used to organize and compare data. And when we say compare, that means we can look at the 2 different or 3 different categories and see how they compare to each other. So, in this case, grapes has a much smaller amount of votes than maybe watermelon or blueberries. And we see that watermelon, by a long shot, has a much higher vote than the rest of the categories. Okay, so similarities and differences between a picture graph and bar graph is that they're kind of laid out the same way. They have different lines and rows to show each category. And then in picture graphs, they use pictures and items or objects to show the votes, whereas in bar graphs, it's more just a filled in square or a long rectangle. So as you can see, they're very similar, but just a little bit different by how they show their votes. So let's use our data from our favorite fruit tally chart to create a bar graph. Now, guys, I gotta apologize. I had a hot mess of a video the other day with trying to do tallies and they wasn't working, and then I was trying to do picture graphs. It was a whole thing. So Ms. Harder is much more prepared today. So I went ahead and filled in this tally chart for our favorite fruit. So I said that strawberries have 4 votes, oranges have 7, and banana has 2. Okay, so 4, 7, and 2. So I can take those tally marks and turn it into a bar graph. So first I'm going to give it a title, which is called favorite fruit, so we know what we're talking about. Then I'm going to create the 3 categories or labels. So here on the side, strawberries, oranges, and bananas. And you see here at the bottom that there's numbers to show us the quantity of how many votes per category. Now, if you remember, for our fruit, we have strawberry with 4, orange 7, banana 2. So I'm going to remember that. Okay. Now I'm going to use that data to color in each bar of our bar graph. So my strawberries had 4 votes. So I'm going to click this box here and I'm going to highlight 4 boxes and change that color to red for our strawberries to show that 4 people voted for strawberries. And then 7 people ordered for oranges or voted for oranges. So I'm going to highlight 7 boxes, make that an orange color. And then bananas had 2, so we'll make that yellow. Okay, so a very simple way to fill in this bar chart was that I just had to fill in the amount of boxes that represented the numbers. Now see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 red boxes for strawberries, and that line right here matches up with the number 4. Same with oranges and bananas. So here I can compare my votes per favorite fruit. I notice that oranges have more votes than strawberries and bananas. I noticed that bananas has the fewest votes out of the 3, and that strawberries came in second place. So this is a really good way to look at all the data at once and compare them versus other categories. People will do this for favorite sports teams, maybe favorite colors, where we want to go for a field trip, favorite movies, things like that. And so here we can really compare the different categories because they're lined up really nicely. And so this information here on our bar graph looks just like what we have for our tally chart. We just formatted a little bit differently. So both work really well. It just shows the data in a different way. So we've been able to see our data in a tally chart form, a picture form, and now a bar graph form.